you from the heart of Texas. This is the beautiful city of Austin, Texas, the capital of the state. We're coming from a weekend of an evangelism conference. My name is Vidal, and I want to thank you guys for allowing me to speak to you on this beautiful Sunday morning. Listen, we traveled from South Texas and came to Austin to do an evangelism conference. And when we arrived, and we noticed as we drove through the city that some things were a little off in a sense of the traffic. Now, we're from a small town. This is a huge city. And we expected for traffic to be a little crazy. We just didn't expect the craziness that we found, which at the beginning, we kind of thought that it was just rush hour. It was the peak hour of the afternoon. But then when we get closer and closer to the intersection, we notice that there's no electricity, that the stoplights are not functioning, not working. So you can only imagine how chaotic it was in some places. Well, we finally made it to the hotel, and guess what? No electricity. What's the point? The point is that we're coming from a couple of days, almost a week, of a winter storm. And Central Texas, North Texas has been pretty severely affected by the coldness. Again, we're from South Texas, so although we got a little bit of the cold, but nothing compared to what happened in this place. You know, the beauty of, speaking of evangelism, coming together here to Hyde Park Baptist Church, and Pastor Tony Gonzalez was the host and put together this amazing experience. Shout out to my brother, Tony. When you bring churches together and you bring Texas Baptist churches from all over the place, from Central Texas and South Texas and, North Texas, East Texas, we come together. The beauty of this conference is that coming from a week of uncertainty and unpredictability, and Pastor Tony was even telling me that, they were struggling. They didn't have electricity, no internet for that matter. Just a couple of days ago, all this uncertainty allows you to remind yourself that evangelism, gospel presentation is nothing else but the unchanging, unmutable message of Jesus of Nazareth. So here we are coming into a week with, again, a lot of stuff taking place. A lot of delayed flights. We're in the airport. I saw the airport, and a lot of things taking place, and the message remains exactly the same. The funny thing about coming together in conferences like this, and we're privileged to do a lot of those, is that every single time that we gather together, and many of you know what I'm talking about, it really feels like a family reunion. You get to see people that you love, people that you care for. You get to spend time in sharing actually the scriptures with others. I mean, we were multiple speakers, and my brother Orlando and Victor, as usual, phenomenal jobs that we were able to, again, to engage and to present and to reintroduce a very old message, which is the message of the person and the work of Jesus Christ, that's what the gospel is. 2,000 years ago, the scenario, kind of similar in a sense of unpredictability, uncertainty, and craziness. I'm speaking of the time when Jesus is not only put on a cross, eventually in a graveside, and on the third day, he rose again. The book of Matthew, chapter 28, beginning in verse 16, begins by Jesus giving instructions and saying, "Come and meet me." Now, Jesus is already resurrected. He is the risen Christ, and he's been talking and experiencing and showing himself in different scenarios. And the point comes where he's going to give the marching orders, the Great Commission. And in that context, Jesus, again, gathered the disciples. And the fact is that on verse 17, the Bible says that when they saw, they met the resurrected Christ, some worshiped and some doubted. This is where it gets really fun, because based on the understanding of this dichotomy of the response of worship and doubt, number one, that's exactly where you and I are. Our lives are unpredictable, and sometimes we feel like worshiping, and then sometimes we're like, is this really happening? Well, here's the beauty of this. Based on the diversity of the response, many theologians and commentary will tell you that more than likely, Jesus is about to give the marching orders to about 500 people. What's the point? The point is that the Great Commission was not given exclusively to the apostles, to a selective, elite group of people. This is for the Church of Jesus Christ. And this is why this weekend, it was the church who gathered together. There were multiple pastors. There were people from all spectrums of life. And here's the beauty. Not only that we reintroduced the gospel, we presented the gospel, we reintroduced the character of Jesus, the work of Jesus, but we saw people coming to know Christ within the conference because that's what the gospel does. Well, here's the point that I want to give you. Although verses 19 and 20 of chapter 28 of Matthew, which those are again the marching orders, the commissioning, and many of you know what I'm talking about going. And as you go and as you convey this message and you start making disciples, you teach them everything that I've told you and shown you, and you baptize them. All of that conversation is based on verse 18. This morning, I love for you to remind yourself, for you and I to come together and be reminded that this amazing words of Jesus, this commissioning to the church, this empowerment is coming from verse 18. If you have a Bible, just look it up very quickly. Verse 18 says, all authority, all dominion, all power is given unto me. Those are the words of Jesus Christ. He is the one with the authority, the one with the power, the one with the dominion. So as the church has gone for 2,000 years, as we are called to go in a time of uncertainty, in a time of unpredictability, in a time of worship, or maybe in a time of doubt, regardless where we are, here's the beauty of the gospel. Not only that the authority belongs to Jesus, so Jesus empowers, Jesus commissions a group of people with a forensic authority. This is not an intrinsic authority within the church. This is given by Jesus to the church. So the church functions as stewards, managers of this authority. We're speaking on behalf of somebody else. But now here's the other thing. And this is what we're going to be reminding ourselves, just looking at the timeline of history for the church, for your life and my life, that the church has not moved. We do not move towards victory. We move from victory. We move from what took place 2,000 years ago. And 2,000 years ago, Jesus took our place. 2,000 years ago, he bore our sin. And he who knew no sin, for our sake, he became sin so we can become the righteousness of Christ. As you move into the remaining of this beautiful month of February, which, by the way, today is a beautiful day compared to what has been taking place, this is a beautiful city. It's a beautiful message. We're privileged to be a part of a community of men and women across the state of Texas, worshiping Jesus on a day like this, on a Sunday morning, exalting the character of Christ, recognizing and acknowledging that all authority is given unto him. And this is why we proclaim the message of Christ. Have a wonderful Sunday, and may the Lord bless you.